Karen, if we're still going, may I ask you to step in a chair at that point? I think you're nodding. I can't hear you. Okay. All right. So given the format of the meeting, for those of you who are visiting today for the first time, I just want to review how we proceed through these different motions. I will read a motion. I'll ask for a motion to be moved and seconded. Staff members will make a presentation. Council members will have an opportunity to ask questions. Representatives of organizations may offer statements or address council with questions. Members of the public who then wish to speak are invited to do so with regard to an agenda item. And some of you just have phone numbers next to the little phone symbol, so we ask that you identify yourselves when you do speak so that we have a record of that. And after everyone has been heard, I'll do a roll call vote for the motion itself. And if anyone has any statements that they wish to submit for the record, these can be emailed into staff. And Jonathan, I would think that we would be using your email address at this point for that. And your email address is?
jonathan.kinney@ct.gov.
Perfect. Okay.
Sarah, could we remind everybody, if you are not speaking, if you could mute, which is very easy to do, especially when you're virtual, but if you're on a phone, *6 or your mute button on your phone.
Thank you, Liz. Yes. The next thing is the code of conduct and the conflict of interest. All council members and staff have previously been provided with a copy of the DECD ethics statement and governing state statutes. Having reviewed them and today's agenda, members of the council and staff are now asked to disclose any affiliations with entities or projects that may create a conflict of interest as defined by agency policy and pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-79 through 1-89 entitled Code of Ethics for Public Officials. Once disclosed, the member or staff may recuse themselves from that particular agenda item. Are there conflicts of interest to be identified today? Margaret? Okay, yeah. And you are identifying a conflict of interest with agenda item number
5A.
Okay.
I wrote the application.
Yep. Are there any others? I don't see any. Okay. The next order of business is the review and the approval of the July minutes. Are there corrections to the minutes as presented? Scanning, and I'm looking at everybody. Marguerite?
So there are a couple of typos in the minutes. In item, I believe it's item V5, Black organizations was spelled B-A-C-K. And I've offered, if the minutes can be available in Word, I can just quickly correct those typos rather than spending the council's time going through them.
It's posted in Dropbox.
Great. I'll take a look then after the meeting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Marguerite, when you send them back, just why don't you just plan to copy everybody so they have that for their own records?
I will do that.
Okay. Are there any other items with the minutes that have been identified?
Sarah?
Yes.
This is Deborah. Can we state with staff and council who's present?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to go in order of how people are appearing on my screen. There's Jonathan Kinney, Sarah Nelson, Kathy Maher, Liz Shapiro, Roberta Vincent, and Roberta, your affiliation?
She's with the St. Anthony.
Okay. Marguerite Carnell, Margaret Faber, Karen Gilvarg, Laura Natush, Randolph Briggs, Julie
Randall?
Carnell, and I know Laura's affiliation with New London Landmarks. Mr. Briggs, your affiliation is?
Yeah, hi. I am a board member with the Norwalk Preservation Trust, but I'm here today as a member of the public and homeowner. I actually was not certain if the listing of my home was going to be on the agenda for this meeting or if it was pushed off until next month. Because I know it was coming in under the wire.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Randolph Briggs, Briggs.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Briggs, I believe, and Jonathan and Liz can correct me, that the agenda item is not on this month's agenda and it would be on next month.
The state register nomination
Yeah.
is, I believe, to be raised at today's meeting and then tabled to September, where it will be officially heard.
Okay, that was,
Jonathan,
Yes.
hi, this is Marina.
Oh, hey, Marina.
There is no state register nomination that is set for an agenda for, Norwalk.
That's right.
No, there's no one for the next agenda. If you're working with someone, please feel free to send me an email and we can speak directly, because there seems to, I'm not sure if you had spoken with someone either in the office or if you're working through a consultant, but my name is Marina Wisniewski, MARINAWISNIewski @ct.gov. So please send me an email and we can make sure that we're on the same.
Mr. Briggs, I just put Marina's email into the chat spelled out as well, so you can find it there.
Great, thank you.
thank you, Marina.
Marina, Marina, you're breaking up badly.
Well, sorry, Deb, don't have any power, so there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, okay, nope, you came in
Sorry.
crystal clear that time.
I'm doing my best. I got
Okay,
the
no.
phone in the corner, and we're trying to make it work.
Okay, I'm doing the same thing.
Okay.
Oh, you're clear. It's clear now. It's clear.
It's better now? Thank you,
Yeah.
Deb.
Deborah, to continue with your question about who is present, Julie Carmelik, Tom Elmore, Mary Dunn, and then there's some unidentified phone numbers. I'm just going to read the last four digits and have you just each speak up and identify yourselves. So 4703.
That's Walt Woodward.
Hi, Walt. Good morning. Okay.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay. 6797.
That's Deborah. That's me.
Okay. 6884.
That's Sarah Sportman.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
1797.
That's Marina.
Okay. And 5003.
That's Erin Fink.
Okay. Thank you all. So those, Deborah, for the moment, those are all the people who are on the call.
Thank you.
Okay. We had the discussion of the minutes. We had Marguerite offering to make the changes for the typos. I did not hear anybody else with any other corrections to the minutes. Not hearing any more or seeing anyone raise their hand, I'm going to do a roll call vote for approval of the minutes. And it would be for approval of the minutes as presented with Marguerite making the corrections to the typos. Marguerite?
Aye.
Tom Elmore?
Aye.
Margaret Faber?
Aye.
Karen Gilbart? You're muted, Karen. Just give a thumbs up if you approve. Okay, that's an approval. Okay. Kathy Marr?
Aye.
Karen Nelson abstaining. Sarah Sportman?
Abstain. I wasn't here last month.
Okay. And Walt Woodward?
Abstain.
Okay. Thank you all. All right, the next agenda item. Let's just get the motion to read it. Okay, agenda item 5A. Surveying, first off, we're going to need to recuse you, Margaret, from this conversation. And I'm just thinking, can we send you a text message when to dial back in again?
Margaret, can you give me your text number? Jonathan just got knocked off.
Yep, I'll put it in chat just now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Agenda item 5A, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend the award of a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of the grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is Middle Haddam Association. The project is consulting services of a 36 CFR qualified architect and appropriate team to prepare a condition assessment report and feasibility study for Middle Haddam School in 1931, 12 Schoolhouse Lane, Middle Haddam. The grant amount is $20,000. Is there a motion to move?
Motion to move?
That was you, Kathy? Okay. And a second?
Yep. Please identify yourself.
Marguerite Carnell, seconding.
Okay.
Okay, hi everybody. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Mary. Yep, I was just going to say, Mary.
So this is Mary. So staff does recommend approval of this application. Middle Haddam Association is just finishing up a Historic Restoration Fund grant project with us, and which was sort of for a very critical need, but we always recommend that they kind of take a step back and do a condition assessment, and so that's what this grant is for. It is non-matching, and they are also asking for some options for feasibility study, which I was a little concerned that the budget might not be enough, but the applicant did get some informal feedback and is confident that this will be enough. And if not, though, they can cover up the difference. They can make up the difference in the budget. And the applicant is not on right now. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
Sorry, I've just lost my video feed here.
Mary, this is Tom Elmore. It's interesting. This building looks exactly like a little school that we have here in Suffield. And several years ago, the town committee had done a full plan to change the use to community, the senior center, community center, and on and on. And when it went to go for bidding to consultants, lo and behold, they forgot to identify upfront hazardous materials, which was many millions of dollars, and it blew the budget. So my question to you is here, has that kind of testing been done ahead of time so that they don't run into the same situation that Suffield ran into?
I do not know for sure. I do know that if it was if such a situation occurred, we'd have a whole different discussion on our hands. I think millions of dollars is a lot to make up. And I think that they would probably, take a step back and revise and probably think about what the best next step would have to be. But I don't believe, since they haven't done a condition assessment yet, I don't think that hazmat has been assessed.
So wouldn't that be coming out in the condition report?
Yeah, it typically, it can, yes. Depending on, well, yes, of course. And I'm also, if you're doing a feasibility study, you also have to take that into consideration too, depending on what the proposed use might be.
Do they have line items in here for materials testing?
If they're awarded the grant, the RFP would specify that, and we recommend that as part of a condition assessment.
Okay, because what had happened here in Suffield was, it was an oversight. It was not included, and it was into the design bidding process, and well, whoops, we forgot to investigate the hazardous materials.
Yeah, we've awarded grants for condition assessments for several other applicants, and we always ask that hazmat be, part of the RFP. And the reports that we're getting back have included that assessment. As long as we review the RFP and make sure it's in there, hopefully that won't happen.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
Just out of curiosity, there was no map included. I was just interested in where it sort of sits within the community. If it's on a major road, if it's near the village green, just economically, it would be interesting. No, it's not critical.
No, that's a good point. And I should probably, just as a matter of course, ask the applicants to include a map. I generally obviously ask them to include photos so that the council has an idea of what the resource looks like and its condition. And then sometimes when we're giving HRF or HRI grants, I ask them to include a map. But I can do that moving forward, but I don't believe they submitted one with the application.
Mary, this is Sarah, and I had a question. It was interesting. We have two things on the agenda that are similar to one another in that they're both trying to figure out the highest and best use of a property and do a condition assessment. Very different scale of the building, and both have the same budget. And that gets to something that you mentioned, which was your concern that this might not be enough money. And I was thinking about, there's a specificity to the language for what's being produced as part of this feasibility study that is quite encompassing, and it wants investigation of 3 different scenarios, which is an economic development consultant, because an AE team wouldn't be the suitable professional to do that. To Tom's point about identifying, the other work that needs to be involved, the whole, what is the on-site septic system and how is that impacted by any of the proposed uses gets folded in too. And I wonder if the expectation for the product is in line with the budget on this particular grant application, because I do think it's going to require a much larger team than has been identified thus far.
And you're talking about the current agenda item?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I had that concern too. And I did raise it with the applicant and the other applicant as well. We did fund a feasibility study for the former Litchfield Ale House, which did include, an economic, a marketing assessment. It did produce 3 options with plans and specifications, and that came in actually only a little over 20,000, but there's the grant, And so I did tell the applicants that a condition assessment may come in under 20. I've seen those generally do. But that the feasibility study on top of that would be extra. So if we can either, if you award the grant, I can recommend that they separate the two scopes so that they have a clear idea of which project is going to cost how much, and then they may have to take a step back and look at their budget. Or, you know, based on your wisdom, we can say, look, this is just not enough. And, you know, we're not comfortable and we would prefer to award just for the condition assessment. And then they can come back for a few.
Well, speaking personally, I'm comfortable with the feasibility study as well. I want to make sure that the applicant is actually thinking broadly enough about all of the different team members and identifies them upfront to themselves, so that they get proposals that are as thorough as they want them to be. And that's just my own opinion.
Right. I mean, and it probably ideally would be two different types of teams. And so, I mean, we can work through that for the RFP process, or I can just go back and have another discussion with them, kind of explain to them, because frankly, you know, they might have a set of expectations, but you and the SHPO also, you know, I mean, if we're going to fund something, we want to make sure it's the best report that will benefit the applicant, but also that helps us in our work as well. So my main concern is I'm not concerned about describing and hiring the best teams. I'm concerned that it's just not enough funding to cover. So I don't know how we want to handle that.
I think the Connecticut, when it was the Connecticut Trust program, the BCI program, that often included economic development consultants working with AE team members for particular properties. So it has been done. It's been packaged together.
Yeah.
And I've worked on teams like that. And there's nothing that I'm saying is trying to prejudice against this application, because I think it's a very worthy study. It's just trying to make sure that they that their expectations and their budgets are in line.
I agree. We can.
So Mary.
Yeah.
It's Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Interestingly, these are all my notes for the next grant that we're going to be talking about. The idea of having some type of, you know, feasibility plan, but the economic impact is really important, but they have to be done. So until a condition assessment determines the health of the building and what it's, you can't, and then the feasibility of what can potentially be happens, and then you know how to develop some type of assessment. So I agree with all critical, but there needs to be a phased component. You know, the study can't know and the intention of this. So I think Sarah did get the assessment done. That is definitely your initial to do that. You know, and to Tom's well, as soon as you add it in. So
I'm going to interrupt because I see Karen raising her hand,
Yeah.
and she may be saying that Kathy is very hard to hear because she's going in and out.
Right.
So I'm just going to interrupt and let Kathy know that. Kathy, maybe if you close your video, and Sarah, I hate to ask you to do this. When you are not on, could you mute, because there is feedback and I believe it's coming from your mic. Yeah, the feedback is gone.
Nope.
No, not gone, but I'm going to shut up and Kathy, go ahead and talk.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I'm getting really close to, can you hear me now? Is that better? So I was just saying that what we're discussing now are like my notes for the next application, interestingly. And like Tom's point originally, that all that information is to come out in the condition assessment, and these things have to be done in a specific sequence to determine what the product is going to be, the cost of it. So in order to get the condition assessment done, then the feasibility can be determined, and then the economic impact study could really determine the viability. So upload it with that condition assessment because $20,000 is going to be obliterated in a condition assessment, and then go to the next level of review and costs and impact market analysis.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And again, you're kind of going in and out on my mic, but I agree that the condition assessment should be the foundation so they know exactly what they're what they're working with. And so that as they move forward with a feasibility study, maybe under a later grant or a later phase, however you want to do it, they have all the best information to do that. So, you know, I don't.
Are there other comments? Karen, you're raising your hand. Karen, we can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Karen.
Karen, my suggestion is that you actually hang up or hold on, go on mute, call in on one of the call-in numbers, and then you can watch and also listen, and we can probably hear you. I'm also going to just jump in and say that I think that feedback might be coming from the phone at 6797. So if you're 6797, could you go on mute?
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Sarah, this is Tom. Another question. How big is the school building? 'Cause I didn't see it in here.
Square footage, I don't know. It's not it's not a big like
right
1950s school. In fact, it's modest, but I don't know the square footage.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other comments? Okay. Okay, so everyone see Karen's message, separate scopes and allowed to move forward. This will help pinpoint where the shortfall is. Yeah, okay. All right, what I'm consistently hearing from all of you is to separate the scopes, which would mean that we would need to revise the motion, the language of the motion, which I'm just trying to bring up on the side here. As you'll recall, to revise the motion, we need to vote to revise the motion. The motion reads, consulting services of the 36 CFR qualified architect and appropriate team to prepare a condition assessment report and feasibility study for Middle Haddam School, 1931, 12 Schoolhouse Lane in Middle Haddam. So I need somebody to make a motion to revise the motion to remove the word and feasibility study.
Marguerite Carnell, so moved.
Okay, and a second? You can raise your hand. Is that Kathy raising her hand? Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Now we have to vote on the revision. Marguerite? Aye.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Karen? I'm not hearing her. Okay, I'll come back. Kathy?
Aye, and if somebody could let me into the phone, I'm going to try it that way.
Okay. I'm abstaining. Sarah Sportman?
Aye.
Okay, and Walt Woodward.
Abstain.
Okay. The motion's been revised. Now we're going to vote on approval of the revised motion. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Karen Gilvard, Kathy Maher,
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstained, Sarah Spillman,
Aye.
and Walt Woodward
Abstain.
abstained. Okay. All right, so the motion carries. Now to the next agenda item, but first, Liz or Jonathan, do you want to text? Yeah, okay.
I believe I just admitted Karen on the phone, so she should be back.
Okay.
This is Karen. Can you hear me? I'm back
Yes.
without video and a different mic.
I can hear you clearly, Karen.
Okay, Margaret is on her way back. She has received my text.
Okay, let me wait just a minute for Margaret to come back. Okay, welcome back, Margaret. All right, let me read agenda item 5B, the motion. The Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend the award of a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is the town of North Stonington. The project is consulting services of a 36 CFR qualified architect and appropriate team to prepare a condition assessment report and feasibility study for the John Dean Gallup House, circa 1732, Hewitt Road, North Stonington. The grant amount is $20,000. Is there a motion to move that?
Kathy, motion to move forward?
Okay, and a second?
Marguerite, second.
Okay.
Okay, so again, staff does recommend approval of the application. The house is a little bit smaller in scale, so the project might be a little more feasible. But if council has the same concerns as with the first application, we can discuss that. Is Craig Russell on the line from North Stonington? He thought he might want to participate. Okay, I don't think there's anybody from the town, but I'll try to answer any questions.
Mary?
Yeah.
It's Kathy.
Hey.
Are there, hold on, let me get it. The original restrictions to the deed of gift, have they changed or are they working within those? Do you know?
You mean the original, hold on a second.
Yeah, the property was donated with restrictions as to use, living, and I was just wondering, are those carrying forward with the new?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't think it's in the narrative of the application, but I will ask that because that would certainly, sorry about that, that would certainly affect feasibility.
Yeah.
Are there other questions? All right. Not hearing any on the motion for this application. Marguerite Carnell?
Aye.
Tom Elmore?
Aye.
Margaret Faber,
Aye.
Karen Gilbard,
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstain, Sarah Sportman,
Aye.
and Walt Woodward.
Abstain.
And Karen, you didn't mention me?
Kathy, I am so sorry. Kathy Maher,
Aye.
thank you. All right, the motion carries.
Oh, thanks.
And let me get to the next agenda item. This is agenda item 5C. The Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend the award of a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below-listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below-listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is the Rocky Hill Congregational Church. The project is consulting services of a 36 CFR qualified architect to prepare design documents for the replacement in kind of 2 features of the belfry of Rocky Hill Congregational Church, circa 1808, 805 Old Main Street, Rocky Hill, and the grant amount is $11,000. Is there a motion to move?
Karen, so move.
And a second?
Second.
Marguerite,
Kathy?
second.
Okay, I saw Marguerite before I heard anybody else. All right.
Hi, everybody. It's Mary again. Staff recommends approval of this application. The only one concern that I raised with the applicant is this is reconstruction, which we do fund. It's based on HAB's documentation. We did fund a condition assessment of the church, and that's what this recommendation came out of. The condition of assessment specified in-kind materials. The applicant, and I think it's in the narrative, discussed alternate materials, which I would not recommend. And so if you vote to award the grant, I would like to do it on condition that they use in-kind materials, unless it's just absolutely, well, it's a reconstruction in some places, so it should be easy to use historic materials. That was my only concern. If there's, and I don't believe Randy Poling is on the call. Is anybody from Rocky Hill on the call? No. So I would be happy to try to answer any other questions you might have.
Mary, this is Sarah. I actually have 2. And one is that when I read the consultant's proposal, it has an allowance for, I think it was $2,750 below the line of the cost for the cost of the lift, which they need in order to do the drawings that they're being paid to do under this grant. And I just wanted to make sure that that is intentional, not an oversight.
That might be intentional, but in error. And it might be I might have mistaken that for, and I'm just looking at the application right now. I had asked the applicant to pull out some line items that had to do with construction. And so I might have assumed that line item was a construction rather than a planning line item. So if, and yeah, and I didn't get any, oops, I'm losing everybody. I did not, the applicant didn't raise a question. So if I can clarify, and if council is willing to revise that request, or revise the motion, that would be great.
You're on mute, Sarah.
Sorry, I was muted. I had a second question, Mary, which is related to your comment about the synthetic materials. And this comment is actually just based on the experience in working in highly inaccessible places, like church steeples that require lifts of $2,700 in order to even get up there. That I know it's the policy not to improve synthetic, but I just want to say, given the way wood is being farmed these days, that maybe for these really high inaccessible places, it might not be a bad thing to consider them. You know, just a comment. But if you were considering them, PVC, which is what they were specifying, has a high thermal coefficient of expansion and limited profile. So I don't think that that's the right product. I think they'd be better with something like a high density polyurethane that can be molded. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yep. And this has come up in the past, you know, features that are not easily visible from ground. I don't know under the HRF program if we've ever actually allowed for that, which is why under the survey and planning, I try to head it off at the, the pass. And I'm also concerned about this, and I know that it's not as visible from the ground, but I'm also concerned about how these materials weather and change years and until it does become visible in not a good way, you know. So I definitely hear I understand your comments. They're not uncommon. So if people want to discuss that, that'd be great. Fine.
Other comments, Margaret?
Yeah, so you know, I'm a purist, so I would want a condition that the materials are replaced in kind. But I do have a question for you. Is there any kind of coating that we could recommend, or something that could coat the wood that would preserve it longer?
Paint is the best coating.
Okay.
And paint has a maintenance cycle. You know, if it's done well, you can get maybe 7 years out, but the top of a steeple is a highly weathering element because it's just exposed to a lot of environment. So it requires a fairly frequent maintenance cycle. And that's one of the reasons that these high places begin to develop problems, because they're not accessible and people can't get there. But you know, to your question, paint.
Thank you.
Other comments and questions from Mary?
Tom Elmore, going back to Sarah's concern about the lift being in or out of the budget, if it's not included in that budget of $2,500 to do the field investigation, which at a cost of $2,750 doesn't appear to be, do we have the capability to up this grant, or do they have to come back in and therefore lose another month as we get closer to the end of the season?
I defer to Sarah. I know that we have revised amounts, but we might have revised them down in the past. I don't know if we've ever increased the amount. It is, I mean, it's a non-matching grant, well under the $1,000 cap, but really the award should be made. We can't just leave it like, if you spend more than the amount you asked for, you can have it. So, but Sarah, what do you think?
So my feeling is it's under the grant amount. It's a reimbursement grant. If we were to approve an expanded grant of $13,750, whatever that amount, what the math works out to, Mary, you could clarify with the applicant if it is their intention that that is actually used during the study, which I think it is, and we could give the we would have given the approval. And if it is not their intention, if that's something for something else, the grant amount that you would be funding would be the $11,000 project. And I'm appreciating Tom's concern that we're getting towards the end of the season for investigation. So I'm saying that give you the authorization of up to $13,750, and then let you work with the applicant to make sure that the request was correct as it was presented.
Sarah, if we're going to
Yes,
do that,
Tom.
we need to add the 10% in addition to the direct cost, because they state that in that line item. So it's in the range of $3,000.
Can I ask the architects in the room a question?
Of course, Kathy.
Is any of this possible with drone technology?
It's a good question, and what we generally say is that drone is good for a good overview, and you just want to see what things look like. But if you really need to touch something, measure something, you really need to be physically present to do that. But it's a really good question, because it's one we debate all the time. Do we need a drone or do we need a lift? Other comments? How do you all feel about this?
This is Marguerite. I have a couple of questions for Mary. Mary, did the conditions assessment include a report from a structural engineer? We know that the steeple is sound.
Yes. Did I put the condition assessment in the Dropbox? Oh, if I didn't, I apologize.
That's okay. I just wanted to
yeah.
double check that that is there, and I wanted to ask the architects here also, do we need a structural engineer on the team to do this work for this grant?
This is Sarah. My recollection of that request when we funded them was that it did include a structural review. It seems like, and Mary, correct me, it was windows, it was some issues with the steeple structure. And I haven't read the report, but it would seem like they would have had a structural member as part of their team.
And do they need to have one now for this scope of work? Presumably not, but I just wanted to ask the question.
They may, I would think that they would want to be reviewing the anchoring of the pieces that they're adding back to the top with the structural engineer, and what that, how things are braced and tied to the structure. It may be that the architect, and I don't know, is either has that in-house, or a structural engineer, or is working with somebody on kind of an hourly informal basis. But I don't know the answer to your question, which is a good one based on what they presented.
Okay, and then just to follow up about the issue of substitute materials. As I see it, the way it's being presented is that we are approving a grant for consulting services for the architect to prepare design documents for the replacement in kind. So presumably that is what we are voting on, and certainly in the details that are provided that are concerning, but I'm wondering if that is something that can be worked out with SHPO as those design documents are developed, and whether we actually have to be voting right now on replacement of in kind or not.
I think that we have, by design, have allowed staff to work out some of these details with the applicant, using their discretion based on a lot more information than we have
Yeah.
at the moment. And so my comment was intended not to necessarily change the motion, but to just talk a little bit about the state of materials these days. So as Mary is having a conversation with the church, that she's aware of some of the issues that we're seeing in the field.
Right. And I'll just volunteer my own opinion. While I, tend to be a purist as well, I do understand that so many organizations, and particularly churches, are really struggling financially, and to get back up and repaint that steeple every 7 years, that's a pretty high cost. So I would be interested, in SHPO continuing that conversation and having the architect explore, the best substitute products available, because this is going to keep coming up. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And that's generally what drives the decision to use a substitute material is the not just the ongoing maintenance, although that's sometimes the issue, but the ease, and so as you've both stated, it's an expense and a little more difficult. But it is typical for staff to have ongoing communication during the planning stage, especially if the intent is to move on to a tax credit or an HRF grant. And so we do try to make sure that the final product meets the standards, either on balance or as specified. So this isn't the last that they've heard from SHPO. It just because take the money and run. So.
Are there any other comments? Okay. So just let me go back to the motion. Read it one last time. So consulting services of a 36 CFR qualified architect to prepare design documents for the replacement in kind of 2 features of the belfry of Rocky Hill Congregational Church, circa 1808, 805 Main Street, Rocky Hill. Okay. All those in favor, I'll go on a roll call vote. Marguerite?
Aye.
Tom Elmore?
Aye.
Margaret Faber?
Aye.
Karen Gilbard?
Aye.
Kathy Marr?
Aye.
Okay. Sarah Nelson abstained. Sarah Sportman?
Aye.
And Walt Woodward?
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. All right. I am just need to ask Karen, can you take over as chair for the next agenda item? My husband's been ringing the doorbell for half an hour and he's locked up. I need to run downstairs, but I don't want to stop the meeting. So,
Okay.
Karen, do you have the motion to read?
I believe I do. This is item Roman numeral 5D.
It's 5D.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
I'll be right there.
Okay, the motion on Roman numeral 5D, the Historic Preservation Council votes to award a certified local government grant, Historic Preservation Enhancement Grant, funded by the Historic Preservation Fund of the Department of the Interior, National Park Service, to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All federal and state guidelines and requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Funding. The applicant is the town of Enfield, and the project is services of a CFR qualified historic preservation consultant to prepare updated regulations and design guidelines for the Enfield Historic District Commission. The grant amount is $20,000. Let me get back where I can see you all, but it would be better for me if I could hear you. Could I have a a motion on this item?
Kathy, motion to move forward?
Kathy Marr moves the item, and can I have a second, please?
Marguerite, second.
Marguerite Carnell seconds. Okay, thank you. Mary, are you the staff on this as well?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is a certified local government grant. Enfield is our, newest CLG. They've been a CLG for a couple of years now. Their local historic district study report was done about 50 years ago, almost 50 years ago. And since then, the statutes have changed, and they really do need to update not just their design review guidelines, but just their town regulation and ordinance. So we do recommend the funding for this. I don't believe that Nelson Pariso from the town of Enfield is on the call, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And this is federally funded.
Okay. Are there any questions from council members?
Margaret had her hand up first.
Oh.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, so I just
see
was
the hand.
wondering about the changing of the boundary and what part that, are they moving forward with that? Because that's significant. You need 2/3 vote of the all the property owners, and I just wondered, if you could just explain a little bit more about that boundary change.
Yeah, I think that is just to make it in line. As I said, it's a 50-year-old ordinance, and a lot of, I see this a lot. Some study reports don't even have boundaries, like if it's 2 parallel lines, and so I think they're not increasing or decreasing. They're tidying. They're
okay. They're defining their boundary.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, Mary?
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's terrific. The one thing that they don't talk about is how they're going to deliver it. Where is this going to be found, whether it's on their website? They're going to get the information to the community, but they're going to have all of this, and if it just sits on somebody's desk, it's not going to help.
Right. I can, and you know what? The CLG application and guidelines, even though I did just update them, they don't exactly reflect the survey and planning, and that is an important question as part of the survey and planning grant. So I can ask the applicant to make sure they do a public presentation, and Nelson's very committed to this work, and make sure it's on the website and easily accessible. Yeah.
Any further questions?
Yes, this is Marguerite Carnell. I have a question about the amount of the grant. My town is in the process of updating guidelines, and we do have a consultant online, and the amount that we have devoted to it is considerably more than this, and I just want to make sure that the applicant's expectations for these guidelines are reflected in the budget, or wondering whether the town is contributing to the cost.
The town will make up the difference. I believe that budget, we have seen, it varies, and I'm sure that Simsbury is going to have a great product. But I've seen these run from, 2,300 to 30, 40,000. I think they're more concerned about just making sure that their regulations and ordinance are in sync with the statutes, and but I can make sure that they've agreed that they will make up the difference in cost. I think they just don't know what it is, so they've asked for the max.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, I see you're back, Sarah. Kathleen Mars moved this item, and Marguerite Carnell seconded. Would you like me to call the roll, or do you want to do that? Okay, I will call the roll for the votes. Marguerite Carnell.
Aye.
Thomas Elmore.
Aye.
Margaret Faber,
Aye.
Karen Gilvard. I'll abstain. Dr. Glazer? Don't think she's here. Dr. Sportman?
Aye.
Kathleen Marr?
Aye.
Christine Nelson, not sure if she's here. Jeff Partridge, not here. Dr. Vernal, not here. Walter Woodward.
Abstain.
Okay. Sarah Nelson, you may
Abstain.
want to vote on this one. Abstain as well. Okay. Thank you. The motion carries. Back to you, Sarah.
Okay. On the next agenda item 5E, the Historic Preservation Council votes to award a stewardship relief grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicants in the amount shown below. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. The purpose is basic utility costs per grant guidelines. The applicants are New Canaan Historical Society, $996.25. Vernon Historical Society, $1,000. Simsbury Historical Society, $1,000. Strong Family Farm Incorporated, $1,000. Antiquarian and Landmark Society, doing business as Connecticut Landmarks, $1,000. Wilton Historical Society, $1,000. Madison Historical Society, $1,000. Greenwich Historical Society, $1,000. Hillstead Museum, $1,000. Coventry Historical Society, $1,000, for a total funding of $996.25. Motion to move?
Move.
I'll move the item. It's Karen.
Oops, I saw Margaret. I called Margaret.
That's fine.
Karen, are you second?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the third round of stewardship relief grants that are coming up for award. So far, with the inclusion of these, we've awarded about 34 grants and about $34,000. I only put in the application the the narrative and the ask, but each application is technically complete with all of the rest of the information that's on this list. Are there any questions about any of the applicants? Or
Told to donate the $4 to New Canaan to get them to a cool grant.
Any other comments? Okay, I'm not hearing any. Anyone to speak to this agenda item?
yeah, I don't think so.
All right. All those in favor of this agenda item on a roll call vote: Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Margaret Faber,
Aye.
Karen Gilvard,
Aye.
Kathy Maher,
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstained, Sarah Sportman,
Aye.
and Walt Woodward.
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries. Get to the next one. Agenda item 5F. The Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend the award of a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is St. Anthony Chapel Foundation. The project is consulting services of a 36 CFR qualified historian or cultural resources consultant to complete a context for the Cape Verdean community present in Norwich from the late 19th century through the late 20th century, and the grant amount is $20,000. There a motion to move?
Kathy, motion.
Okay, and a second?
Marguerite will second.
Okay.
Great. Oops, turning on video, sorry. So we're actually very excited about the prospect of this project. our statewide plan, of course, one of our goals is to diversify the resources that we identify and recognize. However, in order to do that, we do in certain cases need more context to base designations on. Jenny, who I think is on call, was really helpful in hammering out what the budget and scope should be. So we're very confident or comfortable with that. And Roberta Vincent has been patiently on video, that she's here from the St. Anthony Chapel Foundation to answer any questions that I cannot or Jenny cannot. We do recommend approval.
Does anyone have questions?
Turns into a publication or an exhibition one day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Kathy, I'm having trouble hearing you.
No, I was just saying that I hope this turns into an exhibition or a publication at some point.
Mm-hmm. Other comments? Okay. Anyone who wishes to address the council? All right. On the motion to approve this grant, a roll call vote. Marguerite Carnell.
Aye.
Tom Elmore.
Aye.
Margaret Faber.
Aye.
Karen Gilbard.
Aye.
Kathy Marr.
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstain. Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
And Walt Woodward.
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
This is Roberta Vincent. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the State Historic Preservation Council for looking at the grant and awarding it. Thank you so much.
We are looking forward to seeing the results. Good
Yes.
luck to you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 5G, and I have the application, but I don't have the motion. Does anybody have the motion for 5G? It can be
This
read.
is Erin. I can read it.
Okay.
So the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend the award of a Historic Preservation Fund grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met with the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is New London Landmarks, and the project is replacement of the asphalt shingled roof and repairs to rotted wood trim on the dormers of the David Bishop House, the New London Landmarks office building. The amount is $14,400.
Okay, thank you very much, Erin. And is there a presentation?
Oh, sure. I wasn't sure if you needed a motion to raise
my,
the...
Yes. A motion to move.
Marguerite, so moved.
Okay,
Oh,
Marguerite.
sorry.
You can raise your hand. A second.
I'll second, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. All right. Now,
Right, so this is a 31-year-old asphalt shingled roof that needs to be replaced. And then there is repair to the rotted wood trim on the dormer. There is coming into the building, and they're just trying to finish off. They've done some repairs to the building so far. They've added new gutters, exterior storms, and done some trim replacement. So this is just sort of hoping to button up the envelope of the building. And I believe Laura is on the line from New London Landmarks if she wants to to comment on this, or if you have any questions.
Are there comments? Oh, sorry, Laura.
Is it okay to speak?
Yes.
First, thank you for considering this. Thank you, Erin and SHPO staff for recommending funding. I just want to say it's time sensitive for two reasons. Of course, we're coming to the end of the construction season by the time the contract would be finalized and everything goes out to bid. But also, this would allow us to leverage a $7,000 CDBG grant that we were awarded by the City Council of New London, and that needs to be spent by July 1st and closed out July 1st.
July 1st of 2021.
Correct.
Questions or comments, council members?
Sarah, it's Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I just want to make sure, a couple of pieces of the application. Wait a minute, let me just turn this off because I'm getting feedback. They refer to white aluminum drip edges. I wasn't quite sure, historic preservation architects in the room, if that is an acceptable material. And it also says a couple of times that the committee will review and approve things like color, which is great. They have a committee, but I think that those reviews have to come through SHPO first to make sure that those protocols are met, to make sure the materials that are being used are reviewed by SHPO staff and deemed appropriate according to the guidelines.
That's correct. And Laura, I believe those the drip edge is already there, so they're in kind of.
Erin, you went in and out. I couldn't make out everything you said.
Oh, sorry, I don't have power over here. So I believe that it's already there and you're replacing it in kind, or am I wrong about that?
You are correct about that.
Okay. So because it's already there, we thought that they could replace it in kind. And any of the paint colors or anything would be, they would run that by SHPO first.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Laura, this is Sarah. I just have a couple of quick questions. Who actually put the specifications together for the work scope?
That was our committee.
Okay.
And our committee, there's an architect, but I don't think she was involved in putting this together, sorry. It was a general contractor, James Diaz Saavedra, who's on our board of directors. He's not going to be bidding or participating in the work at all. And also another member of our board of directors, Wick York, who is a retired preservation consultant.
And the reason I was asking was the specifications didn't talk about sidewall flashing, which is the flashing that goes between the roof and the side of a dormer. I was looking at the photographs and I was looking at how close the wood was to the roof surface itself. And I just would ask your board to take a look at those side walls of the dormers, because I think that you would want to check that the flashing is intact. And
But that may be what's causing our water damage to the dormers, yeah.
yeah, because there's no, usually you leave a gap and you see the metal flashing, and the gap prevents the water from wicking up.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like it was really, really close.
Thank you.
Caused some damage, yeah.
Definitely not my area of expertise, so I appreciate that.
Other comments, questions? Is there anyone else here to speak on behalf of the application? Okay, not hearing any on the motion to approve. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Margaret Faber,
Aye.
Karen Gilbart,
Aye.
Kathy Maher,
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstaining, Sarah Sportman,
Aye.
Walt Woodward.
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
Sarah, this is Deborah. Who was the first and the second to move the motion? It faded out. I didn't hear it.
So I think it was Marguerite Carnell who made the motion, and the second was Kathy. Is that correct?
Kathy Marr made the motion and Marguerite made the second.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Excuse me, I'm just going to announce that Leah Glazer has just joined the meeting, just so we all can make a note of that. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Sorry, I had trouble getting on internet here.
Okay, and for agenda item 6A, I know there was some emails going back and forth about whether this was on this month's agenda or next month's agenda, that it's supposed to be on next month's agenda, but I just want to double check. When it was tabled, was it tabled to this meeting or the September meeting?
Hi, Sarah. This is Marina.
Yep.
Nope, Marina, we can't hear you.
How about now?
That's better.
Yep.
That's better? Okay. Yep, so this item was originally tabled for the August agenda. However, because of the ongoing difficulties, the consultant has not been able to complete the nomination. They're confident that they will be able to complete it for the September nomination, for the September meeting. So this is just to raise it from the table and then to request that it be tabled again.
That's what I thought. Yes, exactly. All right. So I need to ask for a motion to recall the state register nomination for the Bartholomew Auger Farmstead at 298 Forest Road, North Branford, to the state register of historic places. A motion to recall this to the table.
Marguerite, so moved.
Okay, Marguerite first, and a second.
Karen, second.
Kathy, second.
Second. Okay. So you've heard Marina's explanation that they need another month. So actually, wait a minute. I think procedurally we have to vote to recall. And then we have to, yep. This is shaking her. Yes. So on a motion to recall this to the table. All those in favor, Marguerite Carnell.
Aye.
Tom Elmore.
Aye.
Margaret Faber.
Aye.
Karen Gilvard.
Aye.
Kathy Maher.
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstain. Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
And Walt Woodward.
Aye.
Okay. All right, it's recalled to the table now. Marina has presented that the applicant needs until the September 2nd meeting. Can I ask for a motion to table this to September 2nd, 2020?
This is Kathy. I motion to table this till September 2nd.
Okay. And a second?
Margaret?
Margaret Faber. Okay. On the motion to table, all those in favor, Marguerite Carnell.
Aye.
Tom Elmore.
Aye.
Margaret Faber.
Aye.
Karen Gilvard.
Aye.
Leah Glazer. Sorry, Leah.
Aye. Aye.
I apologize. I didn't get you on the last vote. Kathy Maher.
Aye.
Sarah Nelson abstain. Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
And Walt Woodward.
Aye.
Okay. And on the prior motion to recall to the table where I omitted Leah Glazer, let me just go back to that. Leah, did you approve of that or abstain from that? Approve from that. Okay. So Deborah, did you add Leah into that vote?
I got it too, so I got you covered. Between the two of us, we'll get it.
Great. Okay. All right. Now to next item. Sorry, I'm having to work from a couple of different windows here to get the different documents. So the next item on the agenda is threatened properties. And that would be Todd.
Good morning, folks. I guess, oh, there we go. All right. So I just, you may already know that we've rescheduled our SEPA meeting that was supposed to be for today to October 7th at the request of the owners, which is BLT and Harbor Point Development. They own the 3 buildings that were threatened: 130 Henry Street, 79 Garden Street, and 650 Atlantic. They were waiting for a Fuson O'Neill report on contaminants at 650 Atlantic. This was a kind of news to us. We didn't know anything about this report until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when they said they weren't going to have enough time to prepare. So we spoke with the Attorney General's office, and Sarah and Karen and Liz and John about alternatives, and we were able to put it out 2 months. They requested initially only 1 month, but because of, in 2016, you may recall that they twice they asked for extensions for our Historic Preservation Council meeting, because they weren't. So instead of just putting it out 1 month and then having to deal with them asking for another extension, we put it out to 2 months. So the demolition delay runs out early September, but to ensure that the historic buildings are protected until such a time that Historic Preservation Council will have an opportunity to meet, which is October 7th. The lawyers for BLT, the owners of the threatened buildings, have agreed and notarized that they will not do anything to the buildings until at least October 21st, which would give the Attorney General's office, if this issue was referred to them, enough time to make a case.
And I would add that there's just been a tremendous amount of work, and thank you, Todd, for continuing to carry this through.
My pleasure. Anybody have any questions? No. Great, thanks.
Okay, next agenda item 11, report on the State Historic Preservation Office museum activities. Jonathan?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Just a few quick things. Tomorrow is actually the 1 month mark of me starting with the office, and I just wanted, on a personal note, to say thank you to Liz and the staff for being so welcoming and making me feel at home, even though I haven't really met anyone yet in person. But I have been holding remote one-on-one meetings with the staff, getting to know them, getting to learn their programs, and that's been wonderful. And again, I thank them for their hard work and dedication that they show every day, particularly in the middle of this pandemic we're going through. A few office items, which Mary Dunn provided some updates on the CIA fund. The current balance in that fund is $2,073,000. We have unobliged contracts in the amount of about approximately 1.1 million, and that leaves about 955,000 to be awarded. This amount needs to cover the items from this agenda this month, as well as 2 bigger ticket items, including the Circuit Rider grant for Preservation Connecticut and the Old State House grant for the Freedom Trail. And if you have any questions on the details there, I'm sure Mary could provide those for you. We're also working on 2 exciting projects, one being the GIS and digitization project that you're aware of, and the other Liz and I have been in discussions with a gentleman named Jack Doherty at Trinity College, and he does data visualization, which are basically story maps. And one of the ideas that we have that we may be working with Jack on is a visual story map of the grants that this council awards, where somebody could go onto the SHPO website, click on a particular item, either a photo of the building or a spot on a map, and learn about the history of that building, a brief write-up of what the project might be, before and after photos, the amount they are awarded, things like that. It'll be a great outreach tool and marketing tool for the grant programs that the office offers. That's it. Anybody have any questions?
All right, well, thank you, Jonathan. Liz, report on museum properties.
I'm so happy that I only get to report on the museum properties. I just want to so just as a quick update, I just wanted to mention on July 29th, the staff from the Prudence Randall Old Newgate Prison and Eric Sloan Museum presented as part of the Connecticut League of History Organizations summer school program, which was designed to take the place of their annual conference. They're hosting sessions every week throughout the summer, and they did a 1-hour webinar to talk about how the museums have been changing what they do to relate their missions to what's happening in the contemporary world today. And they did an amazing job, and I was never so proud of people. Today, staff was supposed to take their turn at CLHO's summer school, presenting on historic in a changing environment. That session has been postponed, but they will probably never be so proud as they are that I could be when they do their thing. So it was just really exciting. People were really thrilled by what they saw, and I love seeing staff take a leadership role. Quick updates on each site. We have 2 consultants, Danya Khan and Eric Joya, both of whom are from Albany, New York area, who are going to be working on the collections assessment program, the conservation assessment program, the grant, the CAP grant that Henry Whitfield Museum received, and that is moving ahead. SHPO staff, I want to shout out to Todd and Marina, who really went above and beyond the call of duty to staff at Henry Whitfield to help negotiate the installation of new alarm systems on site. They have not had new alarm systems in years and years and years, and there's always a little bit of a negotiation going on. Our installers don't really understand what historic buildings need, so thank you to them. Morgan Bangle at Old Newgate has a plan to reopen Old Newgate. As you know, right now the museum's all closed, but she is looking to reopen the site Fridays to Sundays for limited hours by guided tour. She had planned to start that in mid-August, but now we are having ongoing water issues, and we don't want to open without a restroom. So looks like Labor Day weekend, we're going to try to do that and bring the museum back online. Those of you who have been there know that it's a mostly outdoor experience. There's going to be very little indoor time. The gift shop will be essentially closed. And the tours will be limited. And in the beginning, they will be limited to groups that book together. And the tours will be limited to 10 people. So that's what Morgan is working on. She's also convened yesterday a group of people who run historic museums from across the nation. And that's something that's been in the works for quite a while. And the group was joined by Linda Norris from the International Sites of Conscience program. Very excited about the conversation that came up during that discussion, because all of these museums are facing the same kinds of interpretive challenges right now. And they were even joined by 5 staff members from the not open yet prison at Sing Sing, which is really a challenge because there is an active prison at Sing Sing, and there will be a historic prison museum at Sing Sing. So you can imagine the permutations and combinations of that challenge. Pre-construction meeting is going to held not at the Prudence Grant Museum, but virtually on August 17th. And with luck, that means we'll be ready to tee off within a week or two after that. And I'll have more news about when we expect that project to be completed. Wanted that project to start earlier this summer. As you pointed out, we are coming to the end of our good work time. And so that has been a frustration. But I do want to also call out Joni Martino and Erica Chilella, who managed the entire removal of the collections into various different spots, including the Carter House, including storage, including the State Library, who's going to be holding some of the rare books and materials. And they have done really amazing job. And then last but not least, Andrew Rowand at the Eric Sloan Museum. I'll just remind you that he started at the end of April, and he was brought into an empty museum just finishing a construction project and told, here are pictures, bring all the collections back in and reinstall them, which some people may have found daunting, but not Andrew. And he has been working beautifully, actually, assisted by our former staff member, Barb Russ. He has created a great relationship with them and consultants. The museum is about 95% installed. And he and seasonal Brandon Lisi have been working to resolve a lot of collection management issues that have occurred over the year. He's also created a new collaboration with a professor at Longwood University in Virginia for the museum to participate in a class that the professor is teaching on America after the Revolution to the early republic. So that will be a real interesting trial and might be something we could bring to some of our Connecticut universities and work in partnership with them. He's been working really successfully with the Friends of the Sloan Museum, and even to the point where they're dealing with a huge carpenter ant infestation in the brand new Noble Lake Cabin, which is very frustrating to all of us. So lots to be done there. And I think the most exciting thing I've talked to you all about how we've been reviewing the missions of all of the museums to make them more relevant to contemporary discussions. And right now we've been doing a lot of brainstorming on how to use the Eric Sloan Museum to address the question, what does it mean to be an American? And that is something that Eric Sloan pondered throughout his whole career, and it's a very timely discussion right now. So they're doing great work, and I'm happy to bring you some updates. If you have any questions, I'm free to ask.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, and it really needs to be acknowledged, because Liz didn't say it, how much work SHPO, the ECD, is doing on a statewide level for all organizations to figure out the reopening, the safety, the protection of our citizens. And I cannot say enough about how grateful we certainly are down here. But it's been enormous. History is going to remember all that work.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, moving down the agenda, old business. I'm not aware that there was any old business. Karen, you can correct me if there was anything pending from last month.
Nope.
Okay. New business. Liaison with public and private agencies.
I think Leah may have a comment.
Leah. You're muted.
Sorry, thought I unmuted. The Desegregate Connecticut thing, I just wanted to raise again. It didn't go to July session, but it might go to September session. So I don't know if there's much to talk about, but I just wanted to ask everybody to look it over in case we want to talk about it in September, if that's all right.
And I may be the only one not, can you just briefly?
So the Desegregate Connecticut platform, the Desegregate Connecticut group is a group that wants to adjust zoning laws first it was trying to go and do that in the July session, and then, but it didn't make the July special session. So now they're pushing it to go on the agenda for a September special session, and Connecticut Preservation Action and Preservation Connecticut both signed onto it, and maybe they want to talk about it in the liaison one. But I just, I had raised it with this group as just everybody to be aware, and we had posted in the chat, but we can send it out again, their platform on their website, just to see what the state council thought about it, because obviously as the arm of the governor, it would be, I don't know if we're asked or requested to make any kind of comment.
Okay. And Liz and Jonathan, is the office working with the legislature at all on this?
So we have not been asked to actually work with Desegregate Connecticut officially, in any way, but some staff have been able to participate in their weekly or bi-weekly calls. So we had a little bit of internal discussion, but not much more than that right now.
I guess it's just something to think about, because if they do go forward, they're going to, one of their main issues that's going to affect preservation is to address the word character in zoning legislation. And that's going to be something that the preservation community needs to address as well, whether we want to think about different vocabulary and understand that that word means different things to the preservation community than it does to the larger community. And so we just need to sort of walk that line. Like I'm in a local group now, and they're ready to attack that word in the local zoning ordinances. And I think that it's justifiable in a lot of ways, but we just have to be careful that what we mean by character, is protected in that way, whether we protect that word or not, but in terms of architectural standards and massing and scaling and those kinds of things.
But yeah, I think you just brought up the key crux of the matter right there.
So yeah, we wouldn't need to comment on their whole slate, but just focus on that part.
Okay. Liz and Jonathan, I would think that at the office will be probably giving this a lot of thought, but it would be helpful to put it on the agenda for collaboration. We could certainly do that.
We can certainly do that, absolutely.
Thank you, Leah. Any other comments from people, thoughts? Okay. And was there anybody on the line from any public or private agencies like Connecticut Trust or EPA? Okay. Don't hear anyone. Anyone for the public forum? All right. So the next item would be the adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And that was Kathy. And a second? That's Leah. Okay, saw your hand. All right. All those in favor, show of hands.
Aye.
Okay.
Who was the second?
Kathy.
Kathy was the first, and I think Leah was recognized as the second.
Leah, okay, thank you.
All right, so the next meeting is September 2nd, also a Zoom platform meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I suppose I should really do the roll call vote for the adjournment too. Margaret?
Yeah.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Sarah abstained. Sarah Sportman?
Aye.
And Walt Woodward?
Aye.
All right.
See y'all in
Thank you all.
September.
Thank you, everybody, especially for coming in after that storm. It is much, much appreciated.
Take care, everybody.
You all take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.